setting the benchmarks or improving the quality of your thesis. Universities are also interested in publishing. Universities give a lot of incentives for faculty members, or maybe in some countries they offer scholarships to students so they can publish in good journals. And because I think everywhere the university ranking is also affected by the number of papers the university is able to publish. So these are few points. If you are in research, you have to publish. You don't have any other option, or the word publish or perish, because uh, even if you are in academia, you do PhD. My personal experience, what I've seen in Pakistan, and if I have traveled in few other countries as well, or people I know abroad, the people having publication are recognized differently or valued differently than those who don't publish. That is a general perception, that if you are in academia, you have to publish in good journals, and if you are unable to publish, then maybe your teaching can be good, but the people who are not good in research, they are not valued as such in academia. So I'll be moving ahead. I think I can take questions in the end. Even then, if someone feels that there is some very important question, then you can raise hand. I can answer there as well. But you can note down your questions. When I finish my presentation, I'll take the questions all by all, one by one. Is it fine? Okay. Now, moving ahead with voice is cutting off. Somebody, you cannot hear me, correct?
Yeah, so a few times, at least for me, I couldn't hear you, but only for like a few seconds. So it wasn't.
Yeah, same here as well.
I think.
Same for me.
In fact, the problem maybe here is the area where I'm sitting. It's a very remote area of Pakistan, and maybe because of internet connectivity, there can be some problems. So if you cannot hear me, kindly sort of in chat, you can tell, or maybe raise your hand. Now you can hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, moving ahead. So this is a sort of letter or email which we don't want to receive when we submit papers to journals, and that is the paper is rejected. So firstly, I'll start with this thing, that why papers are rejected and what we need to do so our papers are accepted. So it includes maybe some things which may sound some sort of philosophical, but I'll be talking more about some practical tips which I generally use or recommend my PhD students, and they are able to publish in good journals. So on average, my students in PhD, when they complete their PhD or submit their thesis for evaluation, they have.
I can't hear you anymore, Sajid.
You're not hearing me?
We lost you, Dr. Bashir. We've lost you. We can't hear you.
Just a moment, if I can use another, I don't know how to resolve this, which is a Wi-Fi connection. Which
maybe reconnect to the Wi-Fi or something.
Just a moment. So can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, you can point out. I don't know what's the problem. I just reconnected. I hope now it works. Okay, so what are the reasons why the papers are rejected? So this is results of study in which they pointed out that what are the reasons that why papers are rejected. Uh, Mainly because of unimportant or insignificant contribution. I think that is the main concern. Methodological shortcomings. So what is the importance of methodology? Almost 26% are rejected because of this reason. Inadequate theories or concepts. This I am talking more about the papers in the domain of maybe human resource management, organizational behavior, or related fields, because we talk a lot about the theories and what's how you are advancing the knowledge in that domain. Then a poor writing or presentation. Definitely people who are non-native English speakers, how they write, how they present, that also can be a cause of rejection. And journals paper are submitted which are out of the scope of the journal. So a very good article, I think, which is a must for every researcher to read, that was published in Academy of Management journal, I guess. 10 reasons that why your paper may not be sent for review. So if I can share that paper briefly, and I'll share these articles with the participants as well, whatever I'm referring to right now. Uh, I think it's not opening. So I'll share the article. So in that, even in that paper, that why the it is not sent for review. The top 10 reasons they have given is that when you submit your paper, you don't look at the scope of the journal. When you write the paper, the format is not as per requirement of the journal. And even when you collect data, or when you are sort of in methodology, these scope of the journal or sort of the requirements of the journal are different. But you have collected data, or maybe they require to collect a multi-source data and you have collected data from one source, or maybe they require to collect data in time lags and you have collected data once. So these are the 8 to 10 reasons. I'll share these articles with Dr. Valad or Kiran, so you can read these articles. But these are the main reasons because of which the papers are rejected. Now our main topic, that what is meant by a top journal, and how to identify a journal, and how to submit a paper there with maximum chances of publication. So firstly, top journals are different with your field of specialization. That's why I asked that from which fields people are sitting here. So if you are in supply chain management.
Yeah, we've lost you again. Or is it just me?
No.
Okay.
Hello,
No,
hello.
we seem to have lost Dr. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we
Yes.
can.
I'm sorry. It's because of the internet connection here, the Wi-Fi, or maybe there is some problem today.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, let's try to go ahead.
Yes,
And
you can stop me where you feel like there is some problem. I will again discuss that thing, and I will try
yeah.
to cover things quickly now. Uh, so the field of specialization is very important. If you're in human resource management, then there is a sort of separate list of top journals. If you are in finance, there are a separate list of top journals. In marketing, in supply chain management. So even in management, as such, we can say that these are the top journals of management. But a person who is working in finance will be least concerned or maybe not interested in international of human resource management. So firstly, you need to be clear that in which area you are currently working, what is your area of specialization, and then try to search journals in that area. So people who are working in organizational justice or in these areas, you need to see like Journal of Management, Academy of Management Journal, Journal of Organizational Behavior, Journal of Applied Psychology, and maybe Applied Psychology, International Review, International of Human Resource Management. These are the top journals in that domain, and then you need to target it. Similarly, if someone is from marketing, then International Journal of maybe Consumer Behavior or International Journal of Marketing. So firstly, you must be focused in your area of specialization, unless, like I said, you want to work in some interdisciplinary area. Like if you want to work in project management, but you want to study the supply chains of project management, then you can target the International of Project Management. That I'll discuss later. That again is a sort of a good technique to publish your papers. Your area of expertise is different, but you want to relate that area, maybe marketing in hospitality industry. So then you can target marketing journals. What are the international standards of those journals? What are the local standards? But it means that if you're targeting some journals which focus more on local issues, what are the standards there? And if you're targeting international journal, maybe its scope will be much broader. If you sort of like if there is some problem in Pakistan and I try to relate that problem and want to publish it at international journal, they will be not interested, because they will be saying that the audience of this journal is not limited to Pakistan. But there are certain journals which focus on local standards, like we have journals in which focus on South Asia, or similarly maybe there might be journals which focus on Europe or America. So at least when you're in management domain, you need to know three important sort of categories or the systems which rank the journals. The first one is the JCR, Journal Citation Report. I think, and I hope everyone be knowing about it, which is issued each year by Clarivate Analytics. And this basically determines or gives the impact factor of the journal. I have got its latest 2020 list, so I can share it with you as well. This is, I think, a very popular ranking system which is used for all types of journals, even in sciences, but in social sciences. So if you want to see which are the top journals, I think one of the criteria is to see the rank of that journal in Journal Citation Report, JCR, that where that journal is placed. And for example, if you look at Academy of Management Annals, that is the number one journal in management category, having impact factor of, I guess, 10 point or 11 point something. Then there is Journal of Management and Academy of Management Review and uh, Journal of Organizational Behavior. I think it is among top 50 journals. Similarly, Journal of Applied Psychology again is among top 20 or 30 journals. So if you have your area of expertise is human resource management, organizational behavior, you can see the list of top journals in JCR. Similarly, if you are in, let's say, project management, then the number one journal is International of Project Management, having impact factor of, I guess, 6 or 7. Similarly, in hospitality management, the number one journal is International of Hospitality Management, having impact factor of around 6 or 7. So JCR provides you a relative position of the journal. Definitely, as a new researcher or PhD student, it's very difficult to target the top journals. So if the number one journal is having impact factor of 10, we have journals having impact factor of 0.10 or 0.05 or 1 or 1.2 or 2 something as well. So you can start from maybe journals having low impact factor, although it's very difficult to publish any journals having a impact factor, but still top journals you can, from where you can have a list of journals, that is from JCR. The other one, I think it will be applicable in UK as well, at least in Australia or in many parts of the world, even in Pakistan, different universities. They go for ABDC list, Australian Business Deans Council list. It has got A star, and the journals which are in A star category in ABDC, they are having very high impact factor in JCR. So with that reference, they are to some extent similar to each other as well. But there are a number of journals in ABDC list which are of maybe B or C category, and they are having good impact factor. So there can be differences as well. So in this, 7% journals are A star journals. So all the top tier journals of management are included in this category. Then there are 24% A, B, or C. So what we see, say in business, that at least you should be able to publish in PhD level. You should start from B, although it's not good one. But B is a sort of satisfactory publication. So if you see the ABDC list and the journal is placed in B category, that can be considered a reasonable for business, because that journal will be having a moderate impact factor, maybe 1 or less than 1. A is a very good publication, even for PhD or even for good researchers. If last year I published 3 papers in A category, and that was considered a huge sort of success for me, and my university as well appreciated it, that I was able to publish 3. And A star is something exceptional when you're able to publish in the top maybe 10, 15, 20, 30 journals. The next criteria to find out the top journals is CABS, CABS list, Chartered Association of Business Schools. Again, it is having a 4 star, 4, 3, 2, and 1, which is to some extent similar with ABDC list, A star, ABC, and similar to the one which we saw in JCR journals having very high impact factor, or the journals which are among the top journals there. So so moving forward, this is a sort of the categories of the journals, and if you want to find out that in which journal you want to publish. For PhDs, what I was told, that the participants are early career researchers and PhD students. So in all these categories, I think when you go for CABS list, you should not target less than 3. It should be 3, and 4 is very good. And if you work and if your supervisor helps you in a good way, you can publish in 4. I published like last year 3 papers. All papers were from PhD students who have not even completed PhD yet, but they were able to publish in A category or journals having impact factor of 4 plus. And if you are looking at the other ABDC, I think B is can be satisfactory, but at least you should be able to publish 1 paper at least in PhD in A category journals. And if we look at the JCR, as such, there is no criteria. Even some journals having 1 impact factor are very tough, but 1 plus should be your starting point, depending on your area of specialization. You should start from these journals, and then once you're able to publish, then you should move ahead with the journals having better ranking. So now I'll discuss briefly about some tips that what you should be doing These are very useful tips, and I use when I teach research to my students in especially in PhD level. I think I tell them that these are the most important things, even maybe more important than doing research, because when you don't have a direction, and when you're not clear about the basic tips of publication, the publication becomes really hard. So what should you do? Don't write and then search. Firstly, identify the journal, the most important thing. Most of the people, they start research, they collect data, do a lot of hard work, and then they complete, and then they try to match their research with a potential journal. For me, maybe I might be wrong. That is my own personal experience. Firstly, we must know the journal, for which journal I want to write. So that's why I have shown you the different categories. You must be clear, and I think it's very important to discuss it with your colleagues who are good researchers, or maybe your supervisor, that I'm planning to target this journal or these journals, because different journals, they have got some sometimes similar type of scope as well. So I plan to write for, let's say, Journal of Applied Psychology and Journal of Organizational Behavior, or such journals, and they publish these type of articles. Then you should select the topic and all the things accordingly. But if you are targeting, let's say, International Journal of Human Resource Management, although Journal of OB, they also publish the articles on organizational behavior, but the topics or style, everything I think is different in International Journal of Human Resource Management. So you'll have to select a different type of topic. You will have to write differently. You will have to cite maybe different type of literature. And most importantly, you will be using different type of methodology. So we publish in Applied Psychology in an international review, which is in Applied Psychology, I think ranked 15. And Journal of Applied Psychology, which is ranked at number 9. They won't accept this paper for their journal because they require a different type of methodology. So even you have contributed something, but since your methodology is different, what that journal requires, so with a very good contribution, they won't be accepting your paper. Research and select a journal that best fits to your research and intended audience before submitting a manuscript. Match your manuscript with the scope of the target journal and improve on presentation, which can easily increase your odds of acceptance by 20%. That is a finding even from a research paper. Whenever you identify a journal, that is before you start writing. That is my suggestion. Go to scope of journal and I think read the instruction 2 or 3 times, what they are looking for, because sometimes they change different things in it. So what currently they are looking for, what are, even they specify the topics on which you should be working, areas on which you should be working. They specify those areas, specific topics as well. Then their requirements, formatting requirements, they are following APS standard or MLA or Chicago, or what type of formatting they require. Familiarize yourself thoroughly with the journals. Once you read the instruction, download different papers and read them, that how they're written. Every paper is written in English, but how the idea is presented, like some journals, they prefer that you start directly with the problem which you have identified and then move ahead. And majority of journals, they require that you develop a context first, develop what motivated you to select this topic, develop a comprehensive background, and maybe in 5th or 6th paragraph, you state your problem. So that is the style of that journal. And all the papers, almost majority, will be written on the same pattern. What is the main focus of the journal? What they don't publish. This again is very important. We just saw that 9 to 10% papers are rejected because they're out of the scope. We just see, okay, my paper is in the area of human resource management, and International Journal International of Human Resource Management is a journal for human resource management. So this paper falls in the domain or scope of this journal. That is incorrect, because International Journal of Human Resource Management or Human Resource Development Quarterly or International Journal of Human Resources Review, or all these journals publish on human resource management, but every journal has got different scope. Every journal publish different types of articles. So what is the easiest way to read the scope of the journal and also to see 2 or 3 years publication? Just you review the current edition, previous edition, and see which type of articles they are publishing and the topic which you have selected, whether in last 2 or 3 or 4 years they have published anything on this thing. And they have not published anything, then maybe that journal don't maybe the editor, because editor is what we say is a king of the journal. He can do anything. So if the editor don't like that topic, maybe he will not be sending such articles for review, or because of any reason. So you must know what they don't publish and what sort of papers they publish: original articles, brief reviews, commentaries, or which type of articles they publish, and what is the culture of journal. That again is a very important thing. So in research, we say every journal has got a specific culture. So some have got very sort of rigid culture or orthodox type of culture. They don't sort of go whatsoever they say, what is in their scope, and 100% they want your paper to be aligned with that thing, and whatever topics they say, they publish in that journal. And there are journals having a lot of flexibility as well. They like new ideas, or they like maybe the topics to be attempted in a different way. So I think once you read the journals, you'll be clear about this thing, and you have to basically understand the culture of those journals. And I think the area in which you are specializing, you must know the culture of at least 4 or 5 top journals, because the other journals, they follow them. So when you read Academy of Management journal, you will find at least 10 to 15 journals which almost go like Academy of Management journal, the same type of topics, or same type of methodology, and so on. So if you know the culture of let's say Journal of Applied Psychology, you can easily publish in the journals having low impact factor, and they also publish on same. They basically follow their methodology. So if there is a change in methodology of Journal of Applied Psychology, we see that within 6 months, many journals, they also change the methodology requirement. Now we need multi-level modeling. Now we need multi-stage sort of multi-study type of sample. Like Journal of Applied Psychology these days is publishing a lot of articles on multi-study sample, study 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are journals which are having maybe which are in B or A category, but they also change their culture with the change in culture of a bigger journal. Then what are the current trends? Very important thing, what is published in 2020 in last 9 months in that journal, and maybe in last year. What are the, so you can clearly see a trend in journal that they are focusing on these. This journal is we published in Journal of Applied Psychology International Review. We saw that they are focusing on different type of leadership, and we felt that if we develop a unique type of model for paradoxical leader, it might be accepted, and that happened. So what are the current trends? They are focusing on leaderships or attitudes, or maybe bullying, on abusive supervision, or employee well-being, or so what is the methodology of current papers, how data is being collected, and that again is very important. And what are the best papers? Which papers got the best paper award for last year, for last 2 or 3 years? That gives you an idea that what is valued in that journal. And this is again a very interesting comparison. If you see, let's say if you're in a human resource management domain, and if you see publication of best journals of human resource management and their best papers, you will find out a lot of variety in topics, a lot of variety in methodology. That tells you the differences in those journals. Every journal the best paper for one journal may be what I think, or it might be wrong, that maybe that paper would not have been accepted in other journals. But they not only accepted it, but declared it the best paper as well, because that matched best with the culture of that journal. Who are in editorial board? This is, and more importantly, who is the editor? Why it's important to read especially about editor? Because editor makes a lot of important decision. Number one, when you submit the paper, he's the one who decides whether it should be sent for review or not. Then when the reviewer's comments are there, he has to decide whether it should be accepted or rejected. And how you can know about the editor? Try to read the papers which he has written. So these are something maybe many of you might never have heard, that this is also a technique, or it might help you in publication. If you read articles of that editor, you can have an idea that in which areas he has published, what techniques he has used in methodology, or what is his preference. So if maybe you work on similar pattern, then there are chances that it will go to review. What are instructions for authors? Formatting style is very important. If APA format is recommended, then it should be strictly followed. It's not. It should not only be about references. Everything, starting from the title and line spacing and where to place the author's name and the headings and the size and numbering, especially the tables. So, because if the formatting of a journal is not followed, that irritates editor. Maybe your work is good, but he will say that this person has not even read the formatting style. uh, Maybe may not reject the paper. Sometimes they send you back, they call that this is unsubmitted and you have to revise, but that doesn't give a good impression. I think it should be strictly followed, and all the tables and excels, everything you think should be developed as per the formatting. And then what is the ethics policy? Because different journals, they have got different type of ethics policy. Recently we have published a paper on COVID-19 and its implications on nurses, and similarly we have worked on a paper on COVID-19 stigma for healthcare workers. So when we submitted those papers to journals, so they said that these are the strict requirements. If you want to publish in this area, you have to take consent from all the people whom you interviewed, and whether they were informed about this thing, and what is the policy in your university about ethics, and clearance certificate from university ethics review committee, and lot of things. Some journals, they simply uh, will accept your paper without any such requirement, but there are a number of journals who have got very strict ethics policy. That is generally with reference to data collection, and uh, if it is some sort of sensitive issue, whether you have got the consent of the participants, and a lot of things. So ethics policy should also be strictly followed. And why we need to read it before writing? Because once you have collected data, and if you have not followed that ethics policy, then you can be in trouble, and that journal will not accept it, because this is something which I've seen, that they show no tolerance for violation. Maybe violation if you have not followed the ethics policy. If they see anything in methodology, uh, that's why many journals, they require you to write clearly in methodology, ethics policy, that we have followed this policy, and we got the clearance from university ethics review committee via this letter, and then we conducted this research. You have to explicitly state that thing in your paper. So ethics, a component of every journal, must be read in detail. What they require, how the data is to be collected, which type of consents are required, maybe from respondents, from the organizations, and at least I think in majority of the cases you have to take permission or approval from your university ethics review committee. um, uh, can everybody hear me now clearly? Any issues?
No issues?
It's good.
Okay.
Yeah, we
works.
can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can hear you.
And I think understanding that as well, what I'm saying, what I'm trying to say.
Yes, it's quite clear so far, Dr. Bashir.
Okay, thank you, Kiran. Now, moving ahead, what should be done during write-up? So again, some tips, and then I'll go in detail as well. And I also have to look the time. Strictly follow the format when you're writing. Then some journals, they even when they send you the reviewer's comment, the editor explicitly writes that you have not cited anything from our journal. So every journal want, what is the reason? The reason is that the citation of that journal will ultimately affect its impact factor and ranking. So they want their journal to be cited. So a good technique or tip is that when you're writing the paper, if possible, if you find some relevant studies from the same journal, and more importantly from last 2 years, because the only last 2 years count for the impact factor, so that the editors, they appreciate this thing. If so cite last 2 years papers. Title I'll discuss in detail as well. How it should be written, what should be the length, what is the culture of the journal, which type of titles are written. Some journal, they simply want a very specific title, impact of this thing, and that's it. And some prefer some sort of very fancy type of words, some quotations in their titles. So that again, it depends on the culture of the journal. State the problem to be solved early introduction, depending on the culture of the journal, definitely. And during write-up, I think proofreading is a very important thing. What about the topic? Now for publication purposes, how to select a topic and what is the way to select a topic. So the topic importance, that is linked with the type of journal you are targeting. So the first bullet is about the journal and whether the topic is important for that journal or not. That you have to determine yourself, number one, maybe with the help of your supervisor, maybe help of your colleagues. Or one technique which you can use is that if you see some good papers in that journal on the area in which you are working, you can email those people. I practically use all these things, and also my students, they also use this thing, that let's say if you're working on organizational justice and you have developed a certain type of model and you are targeting journal of organizational behavior. So search the papers on organizational justice in Journal of Organizational Behavior, and email 2 or 3 authors that I've seen your paper in this area and I want to work on this domain of organizational behavior. So what you think, or what is your opinion, whether it's a good topic, and if I also target Journal of OB, do you think definitely cannot tell they will accept or reject, but do you think it is within the scope of the journal, and whether I should, and what I should do to improve it? And I've seen that these researchers, they are very accommodating and helping. Even in recently we were working on a topic linked to social identity theory, and we emailed to Ashworth, who developed this theory way back in 1989. And I think he was so helping in discussion that you should do this thing, and he appreciated our work as well, and also said that if you link these things in the model or research, that can be helpful. Although he said that I'm not a quantitative person, I don't know how you will analyze data or this thing, but in theory side, if you sort of add these dimensions in social identity and this thing, that can be helpful. So I think when you select a topic, if you have got good researchers, I know in Aston at least, Kiran was telling me, I think Professor Pawan is there. He's a very good researcher. So people like him are around. I think you should be discussing the topics with him. But he also has got a specific area. I have read his papers on human resource management practices in different countries and their comparison as well. You can ask people in your university or in other universities as well. Here in Pakistan, there are very few researchers, good researchers in HRM or in these domains. But I think in UK, there are very good business schools. You can go to that place. You can meet the experts. You can request them. You can email them or email the other people as well. But what I have seen that when you, if you can find an opportunity to meet some good researcher, that gives you a lot of knowledge and help as well, because that person will discuss you every detail about that topic, and I think you end up with a very good topic. So that technique should be used. Don't try to develop yourself. Take help when you're selecting the topic, that this is the topic. Then, if possible, attend conferences on that area. If there is some specific conference on that topic or in that area, you can discuss. And more importantly, if you want to publish in journal, every journal, when you see its website, you will find out that there are calls for papers. Number one, it gives you an idea that if a journal is giving a call on something, that area is most important for that journal. And then on that specific area you can write. And the benefit of targeting a call for paper is that in most of the cases, they require you to submit a draft sort of proposal or topic and discuss it with the editor, and that editor will tell you that whether this paper can be sent for review or not. It is more, I think, helpful when you target a call and write a paper on that specific call for papers. You can get early response. It is reviewed quickly. The time, like these days, I think in last 6 or 7 months, almost every journal I saw a call for paper on COVID-19 and its implication on marketing, its implication on management, on human resource management. Even in Journal of Applied Psychology, there was call for paper. In Journal of International of Hospitality Management, impact of COVID-19 on hospitality, and so on. So call for papers can also help you to select a right or a good topic. Then how to formulate it? Ultimately, now I have to write a topic on which I want to work. uh, you need to review again, it's a personal recommendation. It can be 3 years as well, it can be 10 years as well, but I think 5 years are enough, that you review the papers of the best journals of your field. I would recommend to review at least 5 best journals of your field. Either it is in CABS category or ABDC, or it is in JCR, and list down the topics in which the papers are published, and then out of those topics, select 5 or 6 topics which you think are the most important. That basically gives you a trend, that if these topics or these are common topics in Journal of Applied Psychology and Journal of Organizational Behavior and Annual Review of Psychology, Organizational Psychology, and so on, so it indicates that these topics are the most important in this domain. And out of those, now try to select one or two of them and then discuss it with others. That is the main strategy which normally good researchers, what I have seen, they use, or good students at least in PhD use. Then they discuss it with the colleagues, with their teachers, with maybe international scholars, and get a feedback that I want to work or address, like the paper which I just discussed, Paradoxical Leadership and Personality. So in that domain, we discussed it with, I think, 3 or 4 leading people who have worked on personality and even on leadership. But the link between paradoxical leadership and personality was missing. So one or two people also referred us to some researchers that you should discuss this topic with that person, email to that person. He, I think, can give you good advice. And then we emailed to that person. Ultimately, they said, yes, this link is unique. If you work on it, it can be a good contribution. So once you have decided, or once you decide that this is a good topic on which I should be working, the next important thing is to discuss it with the experts, and good experts within your university, other universities, internationally, wherever good researchers are there on that topic. Try to find out those researchers and then try to talk to them on that particular topic. Now, coming to the components of your research paper, I'm trying to cover different things briefly, just to give you an idea, because the topic was how to target the top journals. What are the important things which I feel are important with reference to different things? Scope of the journal and all these things. And when you start your write up, how you have selected topic, and then definitely you have to use write the introduction. Uh, Best strategy is to construct an inverted pyramid. That again, I think I would recommend should go with the scope of the journal, or the culture of the journal. But once you move from broad problem statement to rationale of the study, why the study is required, that is a preferred mode. Maybe 70 to 80% good journals, they go for this, but there are few journals which require you to develop rationale first and then state the problem. But this inverted pyramids strategy, which I have seen or discussed with some researchers, they said that these days it is preferred more that you start from the broad problem statement. Okay, this is the problem which exists, and then why we need to study it one by one. You write it down. Opening sentence should be catching. It should be short. I've seen that good journals, even they are having introduction of 3 to 4 paragraphs as well. Even our paper on paradoxical leadership, I think there are total 4 paragraphs in it. Journal of organizational behavior specifically. Journal of applied psychology, they generally go for long introduction, but journal of organizational behavior, they also have short introduction. So keep it short. Justify your study in the light of above background, what has been done, what's missing, what's need to be done, and how it will be done. That is a common structure of introduction, but you should clearly know what gap you have identified and where to place it. I think the placement is also very important. When I should specifically state that this is the main contribution, and even in inverted pyramid, we sometimes start right from the beginning. The main contribution, this thing is missing, and this I'll be doing. So you can start from there, but the main argument or the main gap which you're trying to address, that requires a proper placement. And that, I think, I cannot maybe describe that how to write it, but uh, depending on the topic, depending how you are writing it, after reviewing it 2, 3, or 5, even I'll be sharing an article with you as well from Academy of Management Journal, which is about introduction. And they say that that is from editors, and it starts with these word 10 times. And then they say, if 10 times is the answer to a question, what is the question? And the question is that how many times the award winning uh, articles of Academy of Management Journal, how many times the authors revise their introduction. And that part is introduction. Even the editors say, we have revised this introduction 10 times and we are not still satisfied. So once you revise it and again review it second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth time, that is something which I feel is automatic, that you know, okay, I should place my main argument or the gap or the thing on which I have developed this whole story in the first paragraph, in the second, in the third, or in the end. End is, I think, a bit late. The main problem which we face while placing the argument is a sort of comparison that whether it should be in the beginning or it should be after one paragraph or in the third paragraph. But that placement matters, where it should be placed. Uh, then set up the context, what motivated you to do research, then why you have selected the variables, and a very important thing is which theory you are using, at least for the students of HRM and organizational behavior, even I think for consumer behavior and in marketing as well, but for organizational behavior, I think this is the most important thing, that what is the underpinning theory. So if you're using, let's say, organizational justice, so the main base of organizational justice in itself, organizational justice is a theory, but it is based on equity theory. So how you have linked it with equity theory, and how the topic is linked with equity theory, and what you are going to add in it. Or if, let's say, there are emotions involved, some sort of emotions you're using in your study, and you're using affective events theory, where to place the model of your research in that theory, how you can place the variables in that theory, and how you're contributing. Because most of the research models, especially in applied psychology, HRM, OB, or in these domains, they are based on some theory. And unless you're not clear about theory, there are certain mistakes which I see, especially the students while doing research, if they're not clear about theory, because every theory has got certain assumptions, there are limitations, there are things which you cannot do while using that theory. So let's say if you're using effective events theory, and effective event theory states that whenever there will be some sort of good or bad event at the workplace, the emotions will be triggered. So if there is a good event, there will be good emotion, and if there is a bad event, then there will be bad emotion, negative emotion, and that will lead to employee attitude and behavior. So while using effective event theory, if you have developed a model and there is some sort of emotion without an event, then you cannot use effective events theory, because if you are using that theory, there is a requirement that you must go from event to emotion, and emotion to attitude and behavior. So if you're not clear about the theory, and you're developing a research model, and it's not necessary that you state that theory. When if you submit a research model or different variables which are linked with each other, and if you submit it to any reviewer or even your supervisor, by looking at your topic and model, that person can tell that what should be the underpinning theory, or what theory should be used in it. And if your model is violating that theory, there are no chances that this paper will even go to review, because that seems a, what I would say, blunder. That if you don't know about the theory and you have developed a model without having any knowledge or clear knowledge about that theory, and you're submitting a research paper, that's a big mistake. So I think once you are clear about the topic and how you're linking different things in your research, you must discuss the focal theory behind your research, and how that theory is linked with your research, your model, and what actually you're contributing. And again here, your peers, your supervisor, they can help you. I think experts, what we see, when you see Google Scholar, you can read a line in Google Scholar, that is stand on the shoulders of giants. So basically these giants, they help a lot. You need giants if you want to do good research, and these giants are good researchers. If they can help you, they can guide you, uh, you can do what I say, you can do wonders. You can publish in early career in very good journals, and that thing is a sort of unusual thing in Pakistan. But people here, some good researchers, they did this thing in last few years, and before even completing their PhD, they published in top journals. One of my colleague, he published in Journal of Management even before doing PhD. And there are people, Journal of Organizational Behavior, a number of students, they publish in those journals as well. So that was because of hard work. With hard work, I think the main thing was that they discussed it in different forums, in different conferences. Even the paper which was published in Journal of Management, that person went to Academy of Management conference and presented idea there, and then got the feedback, then revised his paper, and ultimately was able to publish. So I think discussion and feedback from others, that is very important if you want to publish in good journals. Moving ahead, briefly, I'll discuss about literature review. The last thing I think is very important, because I'm working as reviewer with some good journals as well. Recently, I reviewed a paper for applied psychology as well. One mistake is common, that when we are selecting the citations, or when we look for citations, we don't look at the years. And even in Google Scholar or in different databases, when you search your papers, you can restrict it by the year of publication. The main objective is that mainly in social sciences, in management sciences, in human resource management, even in I think consumer behavior as well, uh, the most important studies are of last 5 years. And there is a reason. In 5 years, the trends in that domain, they change. Even the theories, they are challenged. There are theories which were there in 2015, and even people who presented those theories, they added different thing in those theories, and even different links, they were challenged, and the theories or concepts were revised and presented in a different way. So let's say you're using Hopfall's theory of conservation of resource theory, and that was presented in 1989. It's very important to relate it with the study of 1989. But if you move ahead from 1989, Hopfall himself has written two or three papers, very good papers in that domain, in which he suggested different additions in conservation of resource theory. And one of them, I think, was published in 2018. So if you are using Hopfall's conservation of resource theory, the most important paper now is of 2018, because he himself has suggested certain improvements or amendments in conservation of resource theory. So the simple formula is that 50%, it can be 40%, not a fixed ratio, but 40 to 50%. So how you should try to look for literature when you are downloading papers. Firstly, try to search for last 5 years papers. So restrict the database from where you're downloading papers to last 5 years. So last 5 years currently will be from 2015 onwards. Then 25% from last 10 years, so it will be 75%, and yes, 25% of 1980s or 90s. Another thing is that in introduction, there should be few citations from 1980s or 70s, but most of the work should be from current years. That what is the current state, and what is your argument, what different you are going to do, and how it will contribute. So this, because I've seen comments of reviewers in number of journals, some journals, they publish their comments as well, anonymous comments for the help of researchers. So this is a very common comment, that the citations are outdated. And outdated means maybe 10 or 15 years old. That is also considered outdated. So if you start from current citations, even when you're doing thesis, try to give majority of citations from current years. The reviewers or examiners, they also appreciate this thing. I'll be moving ahead because I think it's already 1 hour and 15 minutes. Now about methodology. We just saw that almost 26% papers are rejected because of bad methodology or poor methodology. So the number one reason was contribution, 29%, and the second most reason was methodology. So it's methodology is not only about data collection, which type of data it were required, quantitative or qualitative, primary or secondary, whether there were some control variables in it, you should explicitly state it, whether you have collected data in time lag study or multi-study model, and whether the problem which you are going to address is the methodology is suitable for that question or not. The answer, the data can be collected using an interview and you have collected data using questionnaire, or some sort of experiment was required, but you have collected data using interview. So question, for each research question, there is a methodology and that must match. And that answer, I think you can find with existing articles. If someone attempted to find out similar type of answer to a research question, what methodology that person used. Is this standard methodology in your field or does it require justification? Yes, you can justify that, although people, they have used experiments, but I have used interview and these are the reasons. You need to justify it. And what are the ethical considerations? Yes, a very important thing that is in methodology when you are collecting data, whether the consent, whether you're collecting some data secretly or whether you have informed the participants what are the objectives of the study, what can be the outcomes, and how I'm going to report it, or whether I can share this data with others or not. There are a number of requirements. As a researcher, we need to follow those ethical considerations. In university where you're studying, the ethics review committee, they also ensure this thing. You have to prove this thing that ethical considerations they were met. And similarly, when you publish it to a journal, ethical considerations at the time of data collection, you must be clear about this thing, that what are the requirements and what I need to do. If you're doing thesis, must discuss in university with your supervisor what are the constraints, what are the limitations, which people I can contact, or from where I can collect data. Is there any restrictions, or because you will be ultimately requiring an approval from the university as well for publication. For quantitative data, which type of scale you have used, what was the sampling again, how the participants were recruited and how they were contacted. You have to give each and every detail. I'll also share an article from Academy of Management Journal in which they have given written exclusively on methodology. They have given examples of some articles as well, that how they described their methodology, everything. The participants were sort of assembled in a room, and the supervisors were in the other room, and the employees were in the other room, and then they filled this questionnaire, and then it was matched, and groups were developed, and how data were collected. Each and everything about sampling, how they were selected, and how data it were collected. And what was the sample size? Again, a very important question, because for quantitative research, you need to follow different statistical formulas or techniques to identify your sample size in even qualitative research, even in experiments. So what is the sample size? What is the response rate? That should be clearly stated. For qualitative data, again, a very important thing is how you have selected the participants, and how many people took part. The number in qualitative, it's not that you require 400 or 500 people. Even you can collect data from 10, 15 people. That is sufficient. You have used structured or semi-structured method, and what was the duration of the interview, and how it was recorded. Everything, every detail you have to specify for qualitative data. Coming towards analysis, uh, uh, what statistical techniques you have used? And I've seen that when students, even at PhD, they have sort of developed a list of tests that these are the must which I have to conduct, like correlation, regression, and mediation, moderation, all these things. Every type of statistical test is linked with the type of data, number one. How you collected their data, and if it is quantitative data, which type of scale it was used. This, most of at least the students, they miss this thing. They think that whatsoever scale was there, I can do regression analysis. Or if I have to do, for example, chi-square analysis, so even for a Likert scale, it can be done. So there is a lot of literature on in this area, even in books of the statistics, that you must know that which type of analysis is meant for which type of data, number one, which type of scale is meant for which type of data. For every type of scale, it is, if it is a nominal scale or sort of ordinal scale or ratio scale, or whatsoever scale you're using, the type of tests are given, that for this type of scale, this type of analysis can be used. Then the proper use of software. Uh, Again, I've seen that different journals, they prefer different type of analysis which can be done on a specific software. SPSS is very common, but even MOS or Lizrel or Stata or R, and now if you're using multi-level modeling, then you go for HLM or M+. So definitely the relevant software, use of relevant software, and the tables, because the results which that software gives, you have to interpret those results in different type of tables, and different journals require different type of tables that it must be reported. For example, if in your research model, you are let's say you are using a moderator as variable, so different journals, they require you to have a graph of moderator as well, but there are journals which don't ask for it. So with that reference, you have to see this thing, that which type of software I should be using, which test should be using, how results are reported, and what should be the format of the table. Because in APA format, you have got a different type of formatting, in other formats. So the specific format of results that should be used. In discussion and implications, briefly, it is a new beginning. You have found something new. Firstly, you must tie it back to literature. What is meant by tie back to literature is that how this result is similar to existing studies and how this result is different. So you must report both things in discussion. So you can say that my findings are similar to study of XYZ, or these studies suggests this thing, but my finding is different from these studies. So you have to link the result or place that your results in existing literature, where you can place it, which studies are similar to it, which studies are different to it, what's new you have found, what remains the same, your study, the hypothesis accepted, it means the same thing you found, what's different, why it's different. Yes, you have to give the reason. If you have found something different, what can be the possible reasons? Some people say, okay, in discussion we have to simply report results. Discussion has nothing to do with reporting of results. That is done or completed in analysis. In discussion, you have to only justify your results. If my results are different, let's say if some hypothesis is rejected, what are the reasons? What's the difference you have found? What it has new for researchers? Yes, what you contributed in theory, what's new, and what it has new for practitioners, its implications. And from here, what are the new possibilities? What are the future research directions? And what you fail to do, which you could have done? Yes, limitations. So these are 7 to 8 points after analysis. You must not miss any one of them, because maybe some journals, they don't have a separate heading for limitation. Maybe some journals, they don't have a separate heading for implication. Some journals, they specifically require, some journals, they simply say, okay, discuss your result. And after discussion, how uh, you are interpreting the results, And these are these are almost 10 or 11 points which must be there in discussion. Don't miss any one of them. Don't miss the practical implication. Even if you don't write a separate heading, there should be a paragraph about implication for theory, implication for researchers, what are the future directions and what are the limitations. Maybe in one paragraph you can write two things, but these must be written because every journal, they want these things after discussion. In some journals, they explicitly require you to write headings as well. One last point, because if you are lucky enough for a good journal, even if your paper is sent for review, that is a huge success for researcher, because even if your paper is rejected, you get very constructive feedback which improves your paper. And once you address those comments, it will be published maybe in a better journal or in a good quality journal. But uh, there are certain techniques to handle reviewers. I have conducted some workshops on this thing exclusively with students, that how to handle the reviewers. Uh, when you receive comments, it's sometimes very difficult to accept what they're saying. Sometimes the comments are very harsh. Sometimes they require you to do a lot of things. But that is something which a PhD student needs to learn. You need to learn. I think most of the supervisors, they train you for patience. And one of the reasons is that this work of research or publishing, it requires a lot of patience. uh, I think in March or April, our paper was rejected after 12 or 13 months in review, and it was rejected in third revision. So that was a big setback for me, and especially the student who was working on it. But you have to accept this. These are the norms of this game. These are the rules in this game. Yes, if you want to be a researcher, you have to accept this thing. So even the harsh comments from supervisor or your examiners or reviewers, you have to accept them. Okay, I'm fine with these. You cannot challenge those, but there are ways to handle them. Respond politely, especially in write-up. You appreciate the reviewers, and then you say, okay, what cannot be done? Add in limitation. That's a very good suggestion, which I received from a very good researcher, that there are certain things which you cannot do. You cannot collect data again. You cannot do those analysis. You cannot do a lot of literature review. So while responding to those comment, you accept, yes, this thing is very important. But since this study, it is already complete, so I, based on your comments, I have added these in limitations. So in one research paper, I wrote this thing in the limitations, exactly these words, that based on the comments of anonymous reviewer, I would like to add that this limitation must have been addressed in this study, or these are some important things which, so I am adding in these in limitations. So in future studies, the researchers, they should focus on these limitations. That's the best technique to justify something which you cannot do. Sometimes the comments are quite illogical. Maybe the reviewer is unable to understand it and is giving those comments. Then try to ignore those comments. How you can ignore it? Don't respond in the when you're developing a comment sheet or a revision sheet at first go, or even if you uh, write that comment, or then try to give some sort of justification, which again is not maybe linked with the main scope of study. Or maybe you can say that this comment, maybe it cannot be addressed in current study or something like that. What I do, if I feel that comment is totally illogical, I even don't attempt it, or I even don't respond to it, and I just miss it in the revision sheet. And if the reviewer is particular about that comment, he might again say, but in most of the cases they also ignore it. So if there are comments, such comments, I think in first revision you should try to ignore them. If comment is very serious and can result rejection, search similar results in the study, then try to relate and justify. That again is a serious problem, that the reviewer has identified some mistake which is of very serious nature, and if you don't address it, you cannot address it because maybe it requires again collection of data from 300 people or a lot of work. That is a sort of new study. Either you go for that study, or at first in first attempt you can try to search for justification. If I give you an example, that in a paper which we submitted to a journal, the correlation between two variables, that was very high, and the reviewer suggested that this high correlation between these two variables, it is not possible, because in the presence of these issues or these things, I don't accept this high correlation, because it cannot be justified. These variables cannot be correlated with so much strength. And when that comment was received, we already knew that this correlation is high, but still we tried to justify it in discussion. And at that time, nothing could be done, because the value was there. The reviewer has given a comment, and how to justify it. So I basically asked my student to search for studies where there are high correlations, not only among these two variables, any two variables, how they justified it, and then try to relate it with the similar variables. So let's say it was between employee commitment and workplace deviance. We saw the relationship between abusive supervision and, let's say, workplace deviance, or any negative variable or positive variable with another outcome, and where the high correlation was there and how they justified it. So we said that although the correlation in these two variables is quite unique, and the other studies normally they don't report such high correlation, but there are studies in which they found unusually high correlations and justified it with these logics. And based on this thing, we also think that in this particular case, these can be the possibilities in which we can have high correlation. And luckily that argument was accepted. The reviewer did not again, although that was a very serious, because if he did not agree on this thing, what was left, that we had to collect data again. But based on that logic in which the high correlation, different researchers, they justify it. Similarly, in some studies you find very low R square value in quantitative analysis, but there are studies in which they say that even the low R square, that is acceptable. Or in one paper I saw, they wrote that small is good, and that is about R square. So then you have to develop some sort of strategy or unique justification through which you can justify that how to relate this result with outcome. And if some comment is against policy of the journal, don't respond but send reply to it. Yes, that has happened many times when the reviewer said you should be collecting data from these individuals, or the ethics were not followed, and this should have been done. Like in a recent study on stigma, the reviewer said that you should have uh, sort of taken consent from each a patient of COVID, and then the data should have been collected. But when I saw the policy of the journal, there were no such thing that you have to take consent from each responder, something like that. So I did not respond to the comment of the reviewer. I skipped it, and then while giving my response to that paper, to reviewers comments, I wrote a separate email to editor, and I said that one of the reviewers is requiring this thing, but as per journal's policy there is no such requirement. So what the reviewer said, it is good, it should have been done, but when journal has not specifically asked for such requirement, that's why we did not follow it. So again, editor accepted our point of view, and he said, yes, our journal don't require such thing. And if there is a comment from reviewer, I will go with journal's policy. So that's why I said you must review the policies of the journal in detail. And certain times the reviewers maybe they don't know, they're not clear about the policy. They give such comments even for data collection or analysis, which is against journal's policy or which are not given in instruction to authors. So then it is a sort of a subjective decision by the editor that what he will do. But if you clearly develop an argument in case that I have whatsoever I have done, it is as per policy of the journal. It's not violating the journal. That's why if the reviewer is saying something, my point of view or my argument, it should be considered based on the journal's policy. And I think in 99% cases, the editor will go with journal's policy, because once you develop a case that my argument is as per journal's policy, that will be accepted. So that's it. A brief sort of overview of how you can publish, or how you can, if you want to publish in good journals, what you should be doing. I hope I have clarified the things well, because there was a time constraint as well. Now, if there are some questions, everyone has listened to me very patiently, and even I could not hear any voice or sound as well. So if there are some questions or queries, I'll be happy to answer.
Yeah, maybe before questions, I wanted to thank you again for the very comprehensive, very on the spot overview, and I think particularly for our audience who are not who have not that much experience with the publication process, I think the points you mentioned and the recommendations and some personal suggestions should be very helpful. So I can only encourage everyone to ask Sajid questions which are relevant for you. So please go ahead. Yeah, I think Kiran, is this a question?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. Sorry. So, Dr. Bashir, that was really very, very useful. I was making notes as you were talking. So I have maybe a very naive question to ask, okay? Or maybe it's, I totally am not trying to be disingenuous over here, but your guidelines are so clear. For the most part, they all seem fairly objective, okay? Why, if I follow all of these, why should I ever have a rejection in my life? I mean, what do I need to do? Where is the subjectivity in this whole thing that will still get a rejection in spite of following the guidelines? Because it seems fairly objective to me.
Yes. When you see the literature of knowledge management, there are two types of knowledge. One we call explicit knowledge, and another one is tacit knowledge. The problem with tacit knowledge is that you cannot express it in words. So whatever I have tried to write over here is something which can be written on a piece of paper, which can be presented on slides. Yes, there are certain things that when a student submits some assignment, maybe he or she has covered everything. But when I read that thing, I feel there is something missing. Maybe in the content, maybe in the argument, maybe the way it is written. But even in the class, I think it's very difficult to tell that how that feeling comes after reviewing a lot of articles, after reading a lot of articles.
Am I the only one for whom Dr. Bashir is talking?
No, it's the same.
Can you hear me?
But
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You're back.
Well,
Okay, I think without video, it will work. That thing, your question is very important, and every student asks this thing, sir, when will we be able to identify these things? So the only method for me is to read a lot of research papers, how the papers are written, and ultimately you develop that feel or sense that whether this thing is missing or not. But you should start from these points. These are the starting points, because if these points are missing, your paper can never be published. But once you start writing, you attempt, that's why I said that when you attempt introduction, you have to attempt it 10 times. So when you write a research paper or review it again and again, ultimately you will feel in the second attempt, no, this paragraph should be placed here, this citation should be placed here. In third revision, fourth, fifth, sixth, at 10th time, you'll be able to place it at the correct place. So what is required is a lot of hard work. Hard work means revision, revision, and revision. That is, I think, the method through which ultimately you, and the most important, that's why I use that word, stand on the shoulders of giants. Your supervisor, the people with whom you are working, their guidance, that matters a lot. You need to learn to develop the basic structure as a researcher or a new researcher, or things which you need to cover. But ultimately, you need that magic touch from some expert who ultimately makes that thing something different. So when I have done research, even if currently I do research, my good mentors or researcher teachers, whosoever are there, when I send to paper and when it is received back, there is some difference in that paper. And even when I ask her what you did, that is a problem, I think, with every researcher or good researcher. This thing may be, or it cannot be expressed in words, that how to pitch your case, how to. There is a very famous researcher, Timothy Judge, in organizational behavior domain. He has published, I think, more than 100 papers in 10 years in top 10 journals. That is a sort of record, that he was able to publish 10 papers each year in Academy of Management Journal or Journal of Applied Psychology or such journals. And in most of the papers, he is placed at number 2, number 3, number 4 as a co-author. And one of his co-authors I met in a conference, and I discussed what is basically the contribution of Dr. Judge, and he said he's an amazing researcher and a lot of knowledge. But one thing he knows, that when you submit a paper to Academy of Management Journal, how to pitch your case, how to pitch your argument, where to place your argument. And when we once we submit our paper to that journal, and once Dr. Judge writes it again or rewrites it, that is a different thing. So I think the answer to your question is to, and I think you are being supervised by a very brilliant and excellent mentor. So that should not be a problem with you, that you develop your case, you write your paper, and then take feedback from Dr. Pawan. I think, inshallah, it will be published.
Thank you, Dr. Bashir.
Maybe if I can add my 5 cents to it, and
Yes, please.
ask Pavan. So when I remember when I joined Aston, and I talked with Pavan about publications, he told me a very wise thing, and he said, to get a paper published, only 3 people by now with many journals, it's 4 people need to like it. And basically these 4 people are the editor and your reviewers. And if they like it, you will get published, and it doesn't matter whether it's a good or a bad paper. And this is where the subjectivity comes in, because essentially when we review papers, obviously we are very short on time, we are pressured with other things. So we look at the paper, and I mean, basically you have an initial feeling whether a paper would be invited with the point to convince the reviewers and the editor to not reject it, essentially. So to make a very strong case, the strongest case as possible for reviewers to like your paper, essentially. And this, and I mean, we talked about storytelling and so on. So these are the conversation starters. So which conversation do you want to start? What do you want to contribute to? Which conversation do you want to contribute? And this is basically where the subjectivity comes in, because even in the top journal papers, you can take any AMJ paper, you can take any J, you will find something to criticize. It's not like these papers are perfect, but obviously they are still published. So therefore, it's also about making a strong case, and very often when we get back rejections, and I tend to do it as well, I always say, yeah, the reviewers and the editor, they didn't understand it. But maybe the better interpretation would be I wasn't good enough in making my case so that they may better understand it. So it's always easy to externalize a rejection and say, okay, they were too stupid, they didn't get it. But maybe I was not good enough in explaining.
Thanks, Vlad. Thanks, Dr. Bashir.
Okay, any other question?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment, if I may. I'm a young researcher. This is my first year doing my PhD, so I'm very, very in my early stages in publication. But since I've joined, or before even I started my PhD, I've heard this saying a lot: publish or perish. And as a well-being researcher, we know how these stories or narrative can be powerful in shaping organization culture, and in this case, publication culture. And I would like to replace this with publish and flourish. Like, why do we use perish? Why do we lose the flourish thing?
I think a very good comment, and there is a lot of debate on this. You can even find very good studies on this thing, and even different people or experts, they write on this thing that why we sort of develop so much pressure on students to publish, and even for researcher to publish. But the techniques normally so far, it's not specific to any country. Overall, throughout the world, for a PhD student or during PhD studies in behavioral modification theories, would use two types of concept. What one is called positive reinforcement, and the other one is negative reinforcement. So far, unfortunately, the culture in academia, and especially in PhD overall the world, is to use negative reinforcement. It's not about discussing the rewards or benefits which you can get from publication. It's more a sort of fear oriented, especially for young researchers like you, that there is a sort of thinking in the senior researchers' mind that maybe if we use a positive reinforcement, they might not be learning, and we should be using these type of techniques. And so far these techniques are working as well. That is the other problem, because the people who use such techniques, they are able to publish in good journals, a lot of papers as well. That's why everybody, they try to follow it. So it's not about good or bad, it is something which is working, and so far it is working. So people like you, when you'll be there as supervisor and guiding your proteges or students, I hope the culture will change, and you will use the positive reinforcement. But so far, maybe even I don't like it, but that unfortunately is the culture in all universities, and everybody is following this culture.
Thank you, Dr. Sajid. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Any other questions?
There is a question by Kiran. Papers I'll be sharing with Dr. Valad and yourself as well. All the papers from Academy of Management Journal. There are 7 papers. starting from the topic selection to introduction writing and methodology and discussion on all components. And there are some papers in which, like one was published in Journal of Business Psychology. Yes, in that paper, they have given a summary of 132 reviews. Summary of 132 reviews, 132 papers were reviewed, and they are summarized all the reviews. That is I think, excellent paper for new researchers, that which type of comments reviewers give about introduction, about literature review, about methodology. For each component, there are 10 to 15 representative comments which are common. So I'll be sharing all these papers with you, and you can share with all your colleagues.
Are you okay?
We've lost him again.
Yeah. Let's wait a second.
I can hear you.
Yeah, no. Okay. Sorry, we just lost you. But maybe to add to it, yeah. So if you could send me the papers, I can directly distribute it among
yes,
the participants.
I'll share all the papers, including the latest CABS list and ABDC list and even JCR, so they can search. And even if somebody wants to discuss something with me, individual, their topics or anything about their publication, you can share my email or even WhatsApp number with them as well. I can discuss with them. I talk with Kiran on different things related to research, so I'll be happy to talk with others as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Bashir, just one more question. What would change in the guidelines that you gave us if we are writing a literature review paper or a conceptual paper? Because a lot, I mean, yes, there were parts that were common, like the introduction section, etc. But what if you're writing a literature review paper? What if you're writing a concept? Let's stick with literature review. Are there any guidelines you would give for selection of the papers that you're reviewing? Should we only select papers from top journals to review? How would your guidelines change for publishing a literature review paper?
Literature review, or specifically you're talking about theory paper, in which we want
literature review, a paper that's meant to be a review, or a literature review on some topic.
Yes, maybe you're talking about systematic review.
Yes, systematic literature review. Yes.
And for that purpose, I think the criteria for selection, in majority of the cases, what I have seen is more focused on the topic rather than quality of the journal. Even they have cited in certain papers the papers which are not published in some referred journals or not well-known journals. But more important thing is that what studies generally suggest and what were their findings. Specifically, a few years back, I was contacted by John P. Mayer, the person, Allen and Mayer, who worked on organizational commitment, and they were sort of studying it in organizational commitment across cultures and what were the studies. So he collected some papers from Pakistan and other countries as well, and he said that my main intention here is that what were the findings on when they used my scale for organizational commitment in Pakistan? What were the findings in, let's say, India or other countries? So in that situation, I guess more important thing is that which type of relevant literature you are able to find on. Yes, journal should be a good journal in a way that at least it should be peer reviewed, but maybe it should not be from the top journals. Even from a journal from C category in ABDC, that will be acceptable for that purpose.
Ajay, may I ask you a question as well?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so I mean, you talked about a lot. I mean, you gave a lot of points about how to be successful in publishing, and you talked a lot about rejections and how hard it is to be successful. So I would like to ask about your opinion. Why is it worth it? So why are you still in this very, very tough, very, very challenging environment? And what would you say to aspiring researchers, why it's actually worth to pursue this type of career?
In fact, I generally talk with the help of theories, everything, because I teach organizational behavior and theories. So I think the best answer to this question is in two theories. One is self-determination theory and other is cognitive evaluation theory, and that is totally linked with intrinsic motivation. I think no one can be a good researcher without intrinsic motivation, because these theories suggest that you can reach at a certain point of performance with the help of extrinsic rewards. So that is something which is required by the organization, or maybe that is something, the standards which you are having in that country, or what are the international standards. But if you want to move beyond that standard, the thing which guides you or which takes you beyond that point is your intrinsic motivation. And that is the only thing I think which is motivating, at least motivating me right now, because I'm in Pakistan, I'm a full professor. There is no as such promotion after this in academia. I have got all the publications required to go to any position in academia, but still I'm working, I'm supervising, and that thing is the intrinsic satisfaction with two things. When you are at a bit senior position as a researcher, then I think, like parents, we say the publication of your students, it sort of gives you more satisfaction than your own publication. So when I see young researchers, maybe just they started their career, and like one of my students, she has published in three leading journals, including International Journal of Human Resource Management and Journal of Organizational Behavior, and such journals. That gives me a lot of satisfaction and motivation. So this is something which I think recently, if you have heard, in February or March, Geert Hofstede, he died at the age of maybe 90 something, 92 years. And if you have seen his work on culture, different dimensions of culture, even at the age of, I guess, 86 or 87, he published his last paper. And that was with some students. So this is something which keeps you going, keeps you motivating when that thing is acknowledged, and when the people with to whom you have developed, and now they're able to do it, that further motivates you to keep it doing until you have got energy and ability to do it. That, I think, is the only reason.
Thank you very much. So I think we are at the end, time-wise, of the R&R session, so or the R&R club. So again, thank you very much, Sajid. I think these were quite valuable, or very valuable insights. And as said, if you can forward me the papers, and I will distribute them along your contact details. So if there are any questions or any topics for discussion, yeah, then you can contact Sajid, and thank you very much. Very insightful, and I mean, I like these sessions very much, because even for me, who is maybe a little bit more advanced in terms of publishing, it's always nice to be reminded of these things.
Thank you very much, Dr. Valayad, and all. Thank you very much, and all the participants. It was really a pleasure. Although I conduct regularly these sessions with different students, but exclusively with a university, and a university like Aston, it was a really privilege and honor for me as well to be talking with all the participants and discussing about publication. And again, I would say that in future, whenever you have some sort of slot or any topic in which you want to invite me, I'm available. You can just tell Kiran when you want me, and I'll be here. No problem.
Perfect. Thank you very much, and everyone, have a good weekend. Enjoy your weekend, even though in the UK, or at least in Birmingham, the weather is not that awesome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you very much.